Hi everybody, Alvaro here. Hope this video finds you very well. Today I want to talk about a subject, something that is kind of driving me crazy. It's fascinating and frustrating at the same time, right? So the question I want to cover here in this video is why are members still sending money? Over the last, has it been 2 weeks, perhaps even more? We've talked about everything that has been going on with BG Wealth. If you follow the previous video, you already know what has happened with the 12% tax, the demanding $100, most likely identity theft. Obviously, at this moment, there is clearly an overwhelming evidence that everything is a scam. Not only me is thinking that, but more people are waking up every day. I know because people are messaging me and they're telling me that. So why, despite the evidence, are still people sending money? Not just they send the 12% tax, but they send the last demand, which was $100 just to activate a new account. Apparently, they're doing a migration to another system. So they're asking to make a payment to go to another platform to migrate, even though everything has happened so far. People are still, unfortunately and sadly, falling for it, right? So I want to break down why, and I've broken down this in previous videos, why there are so many red flags, and most importantly, why intelligent people still continue sending money despite all of it. Everything I'm going to explain here, everything I've explained in other videos, and other videos you might have watched somewhere else here on YouTube, because the psychology behind it is probably far more interesting than the scam itself, right? And I don't mean to be ironic because obviously I have been one of the victims, but it's fascinating. It is intriguing. It is frustrating, very frustrating. So, how did they manage to pull it off, right? So, the first thing I want to talk is that the evidence is or has become so hard to ignore over the last few weeks that it's hard to understand why people are still paying money. So let's start with the obvious. At this point, there are major or multiple major warning signs. The first one was the withdrawal issues that people experienced. That was one of the biggest red flags because people suddenly lost access to withdraw money. And that's the moment where people start losing confidence in the program. And really, is what makes most of these schemes start collapsing. Most of these so called programs where you make money every day, daily guarantee income, some percentages, they start falling apart once there are problems withdrawing. So BG Wealth has experienced the same. And obviously, people were told the same than in other Ponzi schemes where the systems were updating, there were liquidity problems, the hackers attacked BonChat. I mean, to be honest, at first I thought that could be a possibility because on Telegram they were advising people against paying any tax. But obviously, it has become apparent that in Telegram they are also a bunch of scammers. I was going to say something else, but I don't want to be banned or to use full language. So they said that there was government interference happening, with the FBI. They said that the accounts needed migration, taxation or fees to activate were required. So the explanations or excuses kept changing all the time. And that inconsistency alone is a major warning sign. Everything works well during a couple of years, and all of a sudden you start getting problem after problem after problem, excuses after excuse. There is a problem. And if it happens again, you have to leave. You don't have to walk away, you have to run away. right? So the the new $100 request that came up a few days ago, I mean, that part is now unbelievable. I cannot get my head around, because after members experience withdrawal issues, problems getting into the platform. I mean, we had that since the beginning. You couldn't get into the platform. You needed a new login link all the time. There was confusion in communication, what they were saying in BonChat and in Telegram. So many have been asked to pay the $100 to activate or continue operations in another system. In fact, Professor Stephen, all right, contacted me directly, and I'm sure he has contacted many more, not just myself, insisting that you need to activate the new system so you can keep on trading. So think about this logically. Okay, let's logic things out. If a company controls supposedly millions and millions of USDT dollars, right? Advanced tracking systems, AI technology, huge liquidity, because they kept saying that they are very, very rich. They can afford to give cars away, trainings. You know what? And this might be a little bit, I don't want to name anybody, but something I read and I agree in one of the groups I'm part of is that probably the top leaders were paid to fake giving a car away and to show social proof by creating events offline, right? Now, I don't want to tell names because I am not sure about this. This is just something I'm thinking of, because otherwise I cannot understand how they managed to pull that off. Unless the top leaders, people who have already been in BG Wealth for years or many months, right, were paid or incentivized somehow to keep this going, right? But that's just my opinion at the moment. I wouldn't dare to say that is a fact, because it isn't. Okay, so when you get started, you're encouraged to download the BonChat, DSJex, then migrate systems, complete verification procedures, which I talked about yesterday. If you didn't watch my video, take a look. Actually, I made a video 3 or 4 days ago talking about that and the danger that it is to give your ID. And yesterday I did another video where I was talking about that as well, what to do after you have already given your verification ID. Basically what you could do, and I gave you a free guide to follow step by step, which I'm going to include also below this video, so you can click on it and get it. You don't have to download anything, you don't have to opt in. You click on a button and you can access the guide if you want to do something about you giving your ID away, okay, because it is dangerous. So as I said, the identity verification request, I'm looking at my screen just to make sure I don't forget anything. Yeah, so many people were asked to submit, obviously, driver's ID, passport, country IDs, and do a selfie, which, as I explained in previous videos, they can use for many things. Take loans, take credit cards, do SIM swaps, and so many other things that I don't know because I'm not a scammer, right? But they can do a lot of damage. So people that actually withdrew and provided their details are having given away sensitive data, and they have to protect themselves, right? So the legitimate concerns that I would say that are right now is obviously identity theft, as I said, fake exchange accounts that they can create with your identity, SIM swaps, fraud, and obviously misuse your personal data. And this is very serious. As I explained in three days ago, for me it's more dangerous to have your identity stolen than losing $2,000. because they can do far more damage and give you a far bigger headache than just losing money. You can always make money. Whatever you lose, you can always make it back. But it's harder to defend against data protection, right? So that's one thing. The other thing that people cannot forget is that a few weeks ago, we know that the funds were frozen. Tether and other exchanges managed to freeze about 150 million USDT dollars, and that's the reason why BG Wealth wanted to pretty much ask for more money, because they had funds that were frozen, they couldn't access them. So what a better way to get more funds than asking people to pay the 12% tax and now the $100 activation fee to move to another platform. And let's not forget, on Telegram, they also created their own system or their own new program for those victims that lost money on BG Wealth. So it's kind of crazy once you understand how everything works, knowing that the funds were frozen, knowing that the FBI is behind this. They are carrying investigations and expanding. The big question comes to mind, which is, why are still people sending money? Again, if you're in BG and you're doing that, stop sending money. If you know someone in your team or someone in BG Wealth, tell them to watch this video if you want. Stop sending freaking money. You're gonna lose it. So the psychology behind why people still believe that they can somehow salvage the situation or make more money, it's interesting, because it's not about intelligence. Some very, very smart people stay involved in this program, right? Even now, today, they are still involved, and they're still defending that the company, are acting legitimately, right? But that's not what is happening. So one of the biggest reasons is something that they call sunk cost fallacy, right? Which is probably the biggest reason why people are still sending money. If someone already invested money, recruited friends, defended the company publicly, right? They spend months or years emotionally involved with this business, promoting it to other people, etc. Their brain desperately wants the story to end positively. It's very hard, if you've been 2 years in this business, to call it a business. I mean, you know what I mean. It's very hard to get this into your brain. So accepting reality becomes painful, right? Because the mind starts thinking that maybe one last payment will fix everything. And you know what? It won't fix anything. What it will do is get you deeper into the hole, get you, for some people, deeper into debt. And I mean, debt is a sin. You shouldn't be in debt. Never. And I mean, even, I will go as far as to say you shouldn't even have a mortgage. And I know that's big talk, but you don't want to own a penny to any human being, right? That's the ideal situation. And you should be striving to, no matter how you look at it, debt is bad. And yes, I know you can use debt to create more wealth by investing it wisely. But the first step would be to eliminate all kind of bad debt, which means when you get a loan just to go on holiday, when you get a loan just to buy a car that you buy it new, as soon as you drive it off the place, it loses 40% of the value. This is bad debt. Even a mortgage for your own house is bad debt, right? Which many people will be surprised. So anyway, I'm going off the tangent. That is more than, that's more for another video perhaps. But hope, the hope that people have is a very, very strong emotion, because people want to believe that the withdrawals will return so they can recover their money, that they can keep on trading, that the company was hacked and they will magically solve it, that they are on BonChat waiting for the next so my back, I need to scratch my back, I'm sorry. So waiting that the company will solve all the issues for them, instead of realizing that it's all a mental, emotional game. So their hope, at least temporarily, overpowers their logic, right? And I say, when I say there, look, I'm including myself. I fell for it. So please don't misunderstand me. I'm not throwing stones to anybody. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not mocking anybody. Quite the opposite. This is human nature, human emotions. I fell for it, right? So I'm including myself, right? I'm not mocking anybody. I will be mocking at myself, right? So the other thing that you have to think of is community pressure, because I don't want to talk about myself. When I got started, I saw big leaders inside the platform. I consider them to be very intelligent individuals, right? And I did consider that, knowing the amount of people involved, it was possible to be a market mover, which means if you trade millions and millions and millions of dollars into a trade, you have an opportunity to move the charts to the place you want and then take a profit. I thought that was a possibility. I saw intelligent people in it. And I thought, look, I see some red flags, but I'm going to give it a go. But because the money I put, I didn't need to put food on the table or to eat. I'm telling you something. This is not the best situation to be in, being able to invest, because you are a bit more reckless. And I was reckless. If I had been in the situation I was like 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago, I had some major issues financially. I wouldn't have been able to put any money. So I wouldn't have invested. I would have saved my money. But because I can, and I don't lose any sleep if I lose it. It pisses me off, yes, but life carries on, and I can carry on living, basically. It's not making a big hole in my accounts. So anyway, I'm digressing again. I'm sorry. What was I saying? Yeah, because I saw all that, and I saw potentially, for what they were saying, there were up to 900,000 people involved in this at some point. I thought, hold on a second, I've never seen one of these companies with so many people that has been going on. They said 4 years. I haven't found any evidence to tell me that it's been longer than two. Even some of the big leaders, they've been for a year and a half. So I haven't found any evidence of people being for 4 years, right? So I got caught up on that. I thought, okay, maybe this is different. I need to be open-minded. And gosh, I was open-minded. I invested my money and I got in, and I thought this was gonna work. So my rationale, I was blind to the red flags. I saw them, but I thought maybe it was wrong. Maybe I thought, look, I'm not gonna miss out. And this is called FOMO, fear of missing out. I didn't want to miss out on something that maybe it's good, and I'm missing out because I'm too strict, I'm too skeptical. So that, I would say, that's community pressure, especially when you see so many success stories. There were hundreds of testimonials when you went on the website, and obviously I saw meetings offline, not just webinars, and that's very, very hard to fake. So it's normal that people actually fell for it. So this creates social pressure. Nobody wants to feel embarrassed. Nobody wants to feel fooled for this business. And the other thing is, what they did very well, like many Ponzi schemes, is that they were paying out people at least the first 18 months to 2 years max, I would say. So that creates trust. When you see hundreds of thousands of people withdrawing money, that gives you the trust that that is that's gonna carry on with you, right? Lo and behold, I joined 2 weeks into it, or 3 weeks max. That collapsed, right? So the fact that many people receive their money initially meant that they could have a story to explain other people and obviously say, hold on a second, you get paid, this works, let's join. So that's one of the reasons. And the other reason is people fear, how can I put it? People fear missing out on recovering the money. Let me put it another way. Once they know they can't withdraw the money, once they pay the 12% tax and they were not able to withdraw, and I know some were able in order to create social proof to encourage others to pay the 12%, because I know someone that paid the 12% still didn't get the money. Psychologically, you think, maybe I need to pay the $100 because I don't want to lose my seed money, the profits I earn in that time, and the 12% tax. I don't want to lose all that. So $100 is nothing in comparison. So people have been paying the $100, sadly to say. And the other, apart from that, there is another big thing, which is ego. Many people, I mean, all of us have it, but many people don't, or letting ego get in the way to admitting they were wrong. They made a bad call. And instead of admitting that they were wrong, they were fooled, and moving on, they keep resisting that. And they make a story for themselves like, I'm a hero, I trust the company, I have belief. Guys, this is business. You don't have to believe anything. This is not religion. It's a business. Believing is not going to get you anywhere, I'm sorry to say. Believing in a company, believing in another human being, is not going to get you anywhere. You have to work on hard facts. You have to work on data. You can't just have belief. And unfortunately, many people have fallen into that. And it's like a cult, really. Because I keep seeing people on, I don't know if I've got it, no, I can't be bothered to open it, to be honest. It annoys me every time I see the faces of these scammers. But when you open BonChat, you still see people, unless they're fake, believing in Professor. They believe that Professor is a great guy that is there to save their livelihood, right? That Stephen is there to make them rich. No, Stephen is not going to make you rich. You are going to make yourself rich if you want to, if you work hard enough, not just hoping for a code they copy and paste into the website. So it's very hard. There are many psychological factors that play into why people are still paying. Some people got caught in it. Okay, it's an emotional roller coaster. So I don't want. I'm making this video too long anyway. But final thoughts. As I said before, the most fascinating, frustrating, intriguing part of this is not the money that people have lost, is how on earth these scammers were so clever, in a bad way, to keep on convincing people to keep on paying money up to this day, right? The psychology is on hope, on believing on a community, fear, ego, a ton of things are involved in this. But I think that we need to step forward, we need to step up and stop believing and start opening our eyes to what really has been going on, and just learn from this for future businesses. Anything you get involved with, use common sense. And I'm including myself. I'm very skeptical, but sometimes, Over the last 27 years in business, I have made some bad decisions. In fact, I probably fail 95% of the time in my life. I spent the first decade without making any money in my life, or making very little. Very, very frustrating, right? But anyway, I don't want to make it too long. I just want you to know that the reason people are still paying, there is no one particular reason. There are so many, but it's all emotional, psychological, and unfortunately, people have a gambler's mentality instead of a business mentality. And when you have that mentality, which is an addiction, it's hard to get out of it. And something I didn't mention is the pursuit of easy money. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody, but in my experience over the years, the vast majority of people are not prepared to work hard. I used to run an e-commerce business. I finished it about almost 7 years ago. For 10 years, I didn't take a day of holiday. I used to work 16, 17, 18 hours days, even more. A short day for me was maybe 5, 6 hours because of family commitments, taking kids to activities and so forth. Not one day off I had. Yes, I was making good money, but it wasn't worth it because it almost cost my health. And nowadays, it seems like people are not prepared to work that hard. I've worked for a year creating a project many, many years ago. I used to live in the UK still. I spent actually almost 11 months creating a system, training system where I was educating people on social media and other methods to do marketing. It didn't launch at the end. It was too overwhelming for people. So I spent 11 months working really hard to create something. And remember, about 15 years ago, we didn't have the AI technology. It was everything far more complicated, right? Than just recording a video and putting it on YouTube. So guys, if you're one of those that are not prepared to work hard, just know, if you want to succeed to the level you want, it doesn't even have to be money, right? On anything in life, you just have to, I'm sorry, I'm getting here philosophical, but I just want to say this. You have to work hard and smart. If you can't work smart, work hard. Work long hours and learn from your mistakes, which we all make, and trying to become smarter along the way. But don't try to be smart working 2 hours a day. If you work smart working 2 hours a day, make it 12 hours. So you can multiply by 6 the results, potentially. So yeah, that's one of the problems nowadays. People are not prepared to put the effort. People are not prepared to be on camera because they're afraid what people will say. I don't care anymore. Most people will not understand my accent. Some people will call me names. I don't care. I just want to get the message out. I want to, if I can, get this message to people so they don't keep on paying money. And if I save someone $100, I'm very happy. This video will be worth if I save only one person to spend $100 that they didn't need to spend, and they give it to their kids, or they go for a nice meal out with his wife or her husband. All right. Anyway, such a long video. Thank you so much for watching. See where this drama take us to. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. I'm gonna leave down below 3 links. One is the scam toolkit that will allow you to check any business you want. Check if there are any red flags. Another one, which I published yesterday, which can allow you to know what to do if you already provided ID verification in BG Wealth or any other program. And there's another link with the only program that I promote nowadays in crypto, which has got nothing to do with making daily incomes or anything like that. It's a legit project with people, real transparency, calls Monday to Thursday where you can ask questions. Yeah, my top recommendation is there if you're interested. If you're not, that's fine. But if you want to get into something with potential and long term, because it's nothing to do with short term. Check it out, see if you like it, and feel free to ask me any questions. You can email me, etc. All right, thanks very much. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.